This is the first video in a new series where I'm going to do reviews, let's plays, and tutorials on how to get these classic games that were from my childhood or before. Really fantastic games. This one, Darklands, was for DOS. You can see the fantastic graphics here, made by Hasbro in 1992. And this is one of the first RPGs, as far as I know, on computers or consoles or the like, and it's still one of the best in my opinion. It's a little outdated, but bear with that. One of the reasons why is the character creation is fantastic. You can go to create characters, you can choose from childhood, you can choose different backgrounds which are all going to affect his attributes differently and different skills, and then from that point you can choose their individual professions. So he starts at 15, you spend 5 years in profession, you can modify these skills as you see fit, and then you can either go to the next one and it will make him older, which will drop certain attributes and increase others, or you can begin adventuring at his current age. So additional things that you can do are that you'll notice more things become available. So if I am a recruit, I'm now able to be a soldier, and if I'm a soldier I can be a veteran, and then I can be, that's as far as I know, you can go in this specific thing, but apprentice craftsman, journeyman craftsman. There's lots of these things available. There's a bunch of different unique ways you can make all sorts of new characters, but for the time being we're just going to add the regular people to the party. These are all the pre-made characters, and normally they would have different heraldry and different whatever, but it doesn't really matter for this quick introduction. And you can hear that wonderful music playing in the background. I believe it's 16-bit, correct me if I'm wrong. This is just a brief introduction about how they're all planning to go rid the world of evil, and there is this main story to this game. It's not very critical. Most of your time in this game, which I encourage everyone to play it if you haven't before, will actually be spent just out and about slaying robbers, and my pastime when I was playing the game was always to kill robber knights in their towers. And just show you real quick, this is what the city view pretty much looks like. So you have all these different text options, and unfortunately that's how the majority of it works. I realize it might be somewhat old per standards of today compared to Skyrim, but the depth of this game is at least Skyrim's equal, probably more. And so you have different options here. Basically, for leaving the city, I can simply walk out, which I would be able to do because I'm not actually wanted in this city, which I cannot access. Yes, I can. It's right here. Right here, my local reputation has a 9. Unknown. As you complete quests and you kill robbers in this general area, it'll go up. If you attack random villagers in this area, it'll go down. You can even increase your reputation within the city by fighting thugs inside the city's side streets, and that will affect different places. As you can see the map here, you can recognize some of the cities, such as Brandenburg, Leipzig. These are actual. I've been told that the map is fairly accurate for that time. And you have your money here. Time is actually told in the contemporary way. So you can rest for bells when you go to a garden, which is the equivalent of 3 modern hours. And there's just a lot of great things that immersion you would think would be somewhat difficult in a game that's based out of DOS and only a text game with, well, let's face it, not the greatest graphics there is. But it's actually not that bad because there's so much depth, and it's so believable how it works. And I'm just going to try and walk around out here. This is kind of like Pokemon. I'm going to run in through the forest, and hopefully something runs into me and attacks me. You can see the time going by over there, and it'll differ based on what kind of terrain I'm in. Swamps slow you down. I think that's a swamp anyway. There's a sounder of wild boars bursts from the undergrowth. So, kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. Again, it's very random what you're going to encounter, and different options that you have available are calling on saints to to calm them. All 4 of my guys look identical, and that's kind of funny. I wonder if they're actually using their gear. You can go to your inventory by clicking this. So Gretchen's got a short sword and full armor, which is kind of rare at this stage of the game. He's got a brigandine and a club, which is more like it, but even still too heavy of armor, typically. Chainmail is pretty good as well, and then he's got a crossbow, but he has no weapon. And Ebbard's got plate mail, which is also pretty hefty, but most of these guys are most likely nobility. So that would explain a lot of how that works. The combat system it's kind of limited, and I'm sure for its time it was miles ahead. I do like the fact that it's not turn-based, even though you essentially you pause a lot, and these glockenspiel sound effects are also fantastic. I think it really brings that immersion quality we were talking about. The pathing is obviously not great either, because this guy is just running around like an idiot. You pause the game anytime you click on somebody and give them orders. And as you can see right here, Gunther, which is this blue and red guy, just took a dive because he ran out of... It's kind of like Pokemon, how they faint if their blue runs out, and they die if their green runs out. And I don't know, is this one Ebbard? Yes, that's Ebbard. Ebbard is, you can see the enemies here, and the small one to the right side. Gretchen's about to take a dive too. The starting characters that they have completely suck, and I've never made it through. We just got killed by 3 boars, so I've never made it through an encounter with them, I don't think, right off the bat. Maybe I killed a couple of street thugs inside a city, but you pretty much, you leave the city gates and you die with the pre-made guys. But that's okay, because the character creation, like I already said, is years ahead of its time. It's probably one of the best character creations to this day. So over here you can see skill changes. They got better at fighting, even though we got destroyed. And all of their temporary health comes back. Now their green health is low, so in all likelihood, let's go over this castle over here. You can't cross certain things in the terrain, like this river, and there's no pathing in the overland, so you pretty much have to tell them to walk. I can either use my mouse like I've been doing, or I can go like this with the arrow keys and have them walk. Sometimes these hamlets are filled with Satan worshippers, that's pretty much the main story of this game, is involved with this. And you can read all there is to read about it. You talk to the head guy here, and you can ask him for help. Go to the church, and basically they told me to come back at another time. Go to confession. Yeah, so this is you can recognize these screens once you're used to how you play the game. Yeah, he's basically telling you to kill small animals and typical stereotype, recite 10 prayers backwards. Basically, something's wrong here. So you leave the church, and if one of them's wrong, they're always wrong. So you talk to the Schultz, and then you accuse his hamlet of satanic practices, which is essentially a death sentence for me because I'm so low on health. But really, that brings all the villagers out, and they're angry because you just called them devil worshippers, but it was true. And if I actually survive this battle, there's actually a pretty cool part that comes after this, which would be great if I could get it into this video, because really, that's, like I said, this is pretty much the main story. The main story is revolving around the fact that the devil or whatever is trying to find a way into the regular world, and there's probably 90% of the world are devil worshippers, and they're all trying to help him get in there. And you can hear those great deep sound effects, means that we're inflicting damage on the guy. So pretty sure the combat system is relatively simple. You do damage based on your weapon and strength, and also his armor. So before these guys are killed, I'm going to pause it and tell them to come up here. We'll take the Schultz on when we have strength in numbers. You can click on E or press the E key to bring up their information. So he's got some armor. This guy's got some armor, but not really to the same extent. Scales like a medium scale armor, and really that's just garbage. And they are villagers, so I guess it makes sense. But where are you going, bro? Okay, back up here. We're going to overwhelm these guys. The combat system does kind of work based on if you have strength in numbers, you have an advantage. I don't know if there's flanking and all of that like you would find in Dungeons and Dragons or most tabletop RPGs. It wouldn't surprise me if there was. Hans is about to die. Oh, maybe not. But basically, your weapon skill is what's going to determine whether or not you win or lose the battle, not so much the other things. And it's really kind of, that's one of the downsides, I would say, is we'll just have him pick up everything, or Gretchen pick up everything. I'm not actually going to keep this game, so I don't really care. Normally, you would make sure that everyone gets, the way you would normally play an RPG. So basically, we just found an altar at the top of the hill. We're going to try and, so it's a demon worshipping altar. So we're going to try and get rid of this problem by either we can attack the altar and just physically destroy it, topple it, and just cut it up, use axes or swords or whatever. We can use alchemy. Thunderbolt's basically a hand grenade. Call saints to cleanse the area. This would be done by Ebbard, but he doesn't have the saint in question to do that. Along the way, you can, it's kind of their magic system is split between alchemy and saints. So the saints are, you call upon them in certain instances. So like the Catholic Church has patron saints of things, that's roughly what this is based on. And you call upon the patron saint of, let's say, protection to help you from the boars, which we had an option to do earlier. And at this point, I don't know who cleanses areas, but there's wikis and stuff online of all of that sort of thing. But there's no quest log in this book, or in this game. There's no quest book. There's no mission thing or whatever. So pretty much the way we used to do it when we were playing was we would have a separate notebook where we would physically write down all of the quests we acquired from all of the different banking houses and stuff that you can do in the cities. I didn't really pay much time on that because I don't think that's as key to the understanding the game in the video, but you can call him forth. That almost always works. But essentially, you have any of these options to try and do this, and we're going to try and deface it. And yeah, so Ebbard uses his knowledge of religious lore. Ebbard, which you can't really tell, normally he looks like a little friar or a monk, has 40 religion and 52 virtue, which is absurdly high. And this time he just looks like that blue and red guy with the blonde hair. But normally he looks like a friar, like Friar Tuck from Robin Hood. And so because I have this guy in my party, I was able to get away with this. If I just had a whole bunch of dumb brutes, then it probably wouldn't have worked. Exactly which parts of the altar must be destroyed to purge the evil. Place has been purified, so it doesn't actually... It's not what I was honestly hoping for. I was honestly should have chosen calling forth the demon, which probably would have worked as well thanks to Ebbard. But this demon comes out, you have to fight him. He would have killed all 4 of my guys for sure. They're usually pretty tough. And usually some villager will say, as you're walking away, or as you kill the last one, he'll say something like, you got to look out for us on this day at this place. And he'll say some direction, like southeast of some city. And you should go there on that day and, wait outside, camp outside, and there'll be like a hamlet there or something, just like the last one we just found, and there will be a giant witch fair going on, and that's where they're having just a giant fair, and there's like broom riding and stuff like that, all the typical demonology things. And you sneak in and you can disrupt everything and kill a bunch of people, and then you make your way to the grand altar or whatever where they're performing human sacrifices, and you can go in there and just all out, guns blazing, and you take them all out, or you can sneak in, and there's a lot of there's always more than one option on all of this. So Saint Aidan here, like I was talking earlier, has something to do with animals. Basically, something's wrong here, and So, yeah, here we go. Enemies. I don't know exactly. Yeah, I thought they were wolves. So wolves are probably just going to eat all of us right now. In all likelihood. We're going to try and surround the first guy, but it's not going to work because we're very poorly positioned and it came at a different angle I wasn't expecting. And there's more. Yeah, we're screwed, but that's not the point. The point is, it's about time to end the video anyway. Hans just died, and that's, as you can see, or actually, Gunther might pull this one off. And really, there's so many different options. There's so many different types of encounters you can run into. I didn't even get to robbers. Just a little bit of the witchcraft in it. There's a big alchemy system. Is very, very in-depth. The saint system is even bigger. And it's really just, you trade off all these fancy graphics in modern RPGs for, admittedly, what I would consider a better put-together game. There are a couple of bugs, there's a couple exploits, and there's a couple of just absolutely ridiculous outcomes of things. But this is really, it's groundbreaking. It would be considered groundbreaking today because it's so different. And you don't get a whole lot of the cliches you see in modern video games, like taking on hordes of thousands of enemies. It's, as you can see so far, like each fight has actually been relatively tough. And like I said, these guys kind of suck, but see, this would be a good Hamlet. And you could see, because it was a different message, he basically told everybody they're forgiven for their sins and all that. So, but I mean, I'm starting to ramble here, so I'm going to cut the video after this. But if you're liking what you're seeing, give it a shot. I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite games. And it's pretty timeless. I think, so that was me calling on a saint, and I just scared away all the boars so they don't maul us again like they did the first time. Also, it gave her a Woodwise boost, which, let's take another quick look at the skill system we got here. You got combat skills, top right, these are the attributes, this is your equipment. These are your utility or your academic skills, more or less combat, mage, stealth, just like Fable per se. So these things will help you with different religious stuff. There's speaking common, speaking Latin. It can help you talk to different alchemists and different church leaders, reading and writing. It's good to usually have one person in your party that can read. These things are stealth, streetwise, ride, woodwise, artifice, which is basically crafting of any sort. It helps you use ropes to get up walls. It helps you start fires when you're in other people's castles that you want to burn down. It helps you disarm traps. So this is the typical, flashing screen Pokemon style. We found something in the middle of the tall grass, and for this time only, I'm going to ignore the warning and press on, just because I want to see what's actually in a fight. So bandit soldiers. These guys are usually pretty tough, and at least at this stage in the game. They won't be later, but at this stage in the game, these guys will probably kill me. There's different types of bandits. There's little ragtag guys with leather armor, and there's these guys with the more advanced armor. I'm not sure exactly what they have. They have studded leather, and this guy's got scale and studded leather. So those are all improved over the typical ragtag bandits. Actually, it looks like we're doing okay at the first onset, but one of the things you can do to give your guys a boost in combat is, if I can see this real quick, I can tell him to, instead of attack, I'll tell him to berserk, and I can tell him to parry if I want to. And there's a couple different options here. There's vulnerable, I think is even higher than berserk, which it puts you at a disadvantage as far as your health goes, but when you're ganging up on somebody like he is right now, it can have him do extra damage. So I'm going to go ahead and set that. And he just did 10 to him. So they killed him that quick. And then this guy is going to do the same. And they'll finish him off real quick. So, As you can see, combat system, it looks pretty ghetto. It's really not when you get down to it. So that's all I'm gonna do for this review. I have the link in the description for a guide site on someone's blog where you can download this thing, and it's got full instructions on how to get your DOS emulator and everything set up. So all you have to do is double click a shortcut on your start button, and it'll put it straight into full screen 16-bit goodness. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully you guys are interested, and hopefully we can bring back some more of these games. My next review will probably be something very similar, and that's it for me.